Hey, what's going on? It's Ryan here with Intersection Records, and unfortunately just heard the news that Randy Meisner of the Eagles, founding member of the Eagles, has passed away at the age of 77, really after a long battle with pulmonary disease, and he's been sick for some time. You know, he's from Nebraska. In 1966, he moved to Los Angeles, where the music scene was flourishing in LA, and was in a band called The Poor. In 1968, he, alongside Timothy B. Schmidt and Greg Allman, tried out for a band called Poco, which featured members of Buffalo Springfield, Jim Messina, and Richie Fura. He does become the bass player of Poco in '68 and plays on the Picking Up the Pieces album that year. He then quits the band, gets picked up with Ricky Nelson's Stone Canyon Band, and plays with them for a couple of years. He kind of quits the Stone Canyon Band prior to the Garden Party era, although he does play on that album. He's not part of the Garden Party song itself. Moves back to Nebraska, at which point Ricky Nelson encouraged him to come back out and resume his career after kind of kicking around in bars in Nebraska again. He goes back to Los Angeles. He gets a job through manager John Boylan with Linda Ronstadt's band. This backing band of Linda Ronstadt features Don Henley and Glenn Frey, and ultimately they decide to form the Eagles in 1971. And of course, the rest is kind of history. In 1974, their album One of These Nights features the hit song Take It to the Limit, which is the first #1 song that the Eagles would have, and it really becomes the signature song for Randy. It becomes a song that focuses on his beautiful backing vocals. So again, going from Poco with all those wonderful harmonies on songs like Picking Up the Pieces to the Eagles, and they're just seminal, harmonies. 3- and 4-part harmonies with the original band with Bernie Ledden, Don Felder, and Don Henley, Glenn Frey, and Bernie Ledden and Randy. They just really changed the game, along with bands like Crosby, Stills and Nash and Poco, of course, and these harmony songs. He's on the Hotel California album. His song Try and Love Again is just a really beautiful song, which I love. Again, he gets a co-write on that. He gets a co-write on their first #1 hit, Take It to the Limit. And that becomes their encore song. And, Randy wasn't, as he says in the documentary, The History of the Eagles. Joe Walsh says, it's a band of alpha males. And alpha males, kind of run bands. And a lot of bands like the Eagles are made up of all alpha males. Well, Randy wasn't. He would rather not be in the spotlight. And one night in Knoxville, Tennessee, on that tour, 1977, he says, guys, I'm not doing Take It to the Limit. And Take It to the Limit's an encore moment of the show, with Randy hitting those high notes at the end. Think about those just big notes. He claims he was hungover, partying all night, doesn't feel like doing it. He gets in a fight backstage with Glenn Frey, and Glenn Frey says, "Why don't you just quit?" Calls him a name before that, and they almost go to blows. And after the tour, a show in Alpine Valley, Wisconsin, he does quit the band. And Timothy B. Schmidt, who replaced him in Poco, then replaces him in the Eagles. He has some hits, enters the top 30 as a solo artist in the early 80s. Does a band with Rick Roberts from Firefall and the Burrito Brothers. rejoins for the Legacy album, Poco in 1989 and 1990. You may remember the song Call It Love. Was kind of a big hit. In 1998, he is inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame along with the rest of the Eagles. He performs with them at the ceremony. In 2000, I want to say 13 or 14, the Eagles do a History of the Eagles tour where Bernie Ledden is invited back. Randy was supposed to be on that tour, but Randy, even back then, 8, 9, 10 years ago, was too sick to really play. And it would have been neat to have the original band back together, with Bernie. But again, he has been sick for some time. He had a beautiful voice. He was a tender guy. Pipes like that. He did some backup on the Sweet Baby James album for James Taylor. Played on lots of sessions over the years, and really known for that voice and great bass playing. Anyway, rest in peace, Randy. You were 77 years old, and it's too young to die, but we hope you're in a better place. Peace out. We'll see you.